Good evening, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another Schizophrenic update. Today's been a busy day. It's been busy because I had a lot of stuff to do, just errands and chores, cleaning the house, laundry, and then I met up with some friends, and that took longer than expected, so I've been kind of running all over and I've been busy today. But I wanted to talk to you guys about how my day went. I want to share with you just how am I doing mentally? Am I doing okay? Or what are a couple struggles of mine currently? And then I have a topic that I wanted to talk about as well, so please stay with me and let's reflect upon life together. Let's lean on each other. Let's support each other. Let's love one another. My day was okay. Like I said, it was busy, and so I was always on the move, which caused a little bit of stress for me. My anxiety was a little bit increased, was up there. I felt a bit stressed just because I didn't really have any time to relax. I didn't have any time to slow down, calm down. And so today was a little bit of a stressful day, which means my hallucinations, the voices that I hear, were quite active. They weren't as violent as they usually are, but they were loud and obnoxious and annoying. So my voices like Legion, Skylar, Cheyenne, those three were tearing me apart. They were bringing up old mistakes that I've made and people I've hurt, and they were just bringing up the past a lot. And for anyone who's new, Legion, he usually dresses in a nice suit, looks very good, like I imagine like James Bond appearance in a suit, but he has very pale white skin, sometimes has black eyes, sometimes has red eyes. It kind of switches up sometimes. And then he has long black hair, and he's very quick-witted. He's quick with words. He's someone who he likes to hear himself talk. He likes to impress others. And so he's someone who definitely has that, you get that feeling that he thinks he's better than everyone else. So that's Legion. Skylar is more of a emo goth chick. She loves Victorian era, so she likes, Victoria clothes that are usually black, like black dresses, black skirts. She loves usually wearing like leggings with a skirt, and then, a black top. Sometimes she wears a black dress. Her hair is black and long, and she has more of I would say a caramel skin tone per se. So not white, not black. I guess you could say she's biracial, I guess. At least that's what it, in appearance-wise, looks like. But yeah, I consider her my emo goth friend because she just dresses like she's like a high school teen who doesn't really know who they are, so they just decide to be defiant and stubborn and rebel, and they dress and look emo/goth. But then there's Cheyenne, who is more of a Kentucky cowgirl. She very much likes flannels and jeans and cowgirl boots with a cowgirl hat. She has long blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin tone. Yeah. And then there's a couple others like Belle, who sometimes appears, but usually it's just his voice. And Raven, usually just her voice. But my hallucinations definitely were trying to give me problems today. But I've been living with this illness for so long that I have coping skills. I have ways to take care of myself. whether that's reading scripture, reading the Bible, listening to worship music, prayer, meditation, going on a walk. I have things I can do to help me get through these symptoms if they're severe, if they're bad enough. And that's kind of what I did today. I went on a walk, I hung out with friends. I was very mindful of how I was doing. I was very mindful of what was going on. And that helped me cope with these symptoms today. Besides for the hallucinations, paranoia was kind of up and down today. There was moments where I was like, who's listening? Who's watching me? But I really had to talk to myself and be like, Steven, is there anyone around you? No, you're alone. Okay, there's no cameras. Okay, there's no cameras. So no one's probably watching you. It's just your mind playing tricks. And I was like, yeah, okay, my mind is playing tricks. So I had to kind of reality check myself in that moment. And then the other symptom that came and gone today was disorganized thinking. My thoughts today were kind of all over the place. There was some moments where they just kept going, clicking, just rapid fire. There was other moments where they were a bit slower, and it took me a while to focus, it took me a while to stay, it took me a while to follow along conversations. So those were the symptoms today that gave me some issues. It's just, I've been living with this illness for long enough that I don't remember what it's like not having schizophrenia. Honestly, guys. Like, I've had it ever since I was in high school. And so there's just I don't really have memories of me not hearing voices. I really don't have memories of me not seeing things. I don't have a lot of memories when I was a child. So when I try to think about what would life be like if I didn't have schizophrenia, I really can't do it. It's not something that my brain, can think of, because I have no basis for that. I have no memories. I do think about, if it did happen, what would life be like? I feel like if I didn't have schizophrenia, life would be so fucking boring, and I would be like everyone else, and I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to be me. I want to be unique. I want to be special. I want to be different. And so when I think about would I like to be like other people? No, hell no. No, not at all. And so I know, like I said, life would be really fucking boring. I wouldn't hear voices. I wouldn't see things. I wouldn't be paranoid. I wouldn't be delusional. I wouldn't have trouble following along conversations. Like, life would be so fucking dull. Really, it would be. So I'm actually happy that I'm happy and at peace, and I'm content with my life, and the flaws and weaknesses that I have, I've come to accept them, that they're just part of my life. They're things I have to deal with, and for me, that makes me quite happy, knowing that I'm all right. I'm at peace. I'm fine with how my life is, and my flaws and weaknesses, they don't make me who I am. They're just part of me. Rather, who I am is a child of God. Who I am is a servant of Christ. Who I am, I'm a disciple. A disciple of Jesus. That's who I am. So, brothers and sisters, what I wanted to talk about was, I wanted to specifically talk about Jesus, and what I'm going to try to focus on is the fact that, Muslims have a specific view on who Jesus is. Christians have a specific view on who Jesus is. Jews have a very specific idea of who Jesus is. And as I've gotten older, and as I've studied and learned and read books and sought knowledge, for me, I feel like we're so quick to point out the differences, the flaws. We're so quick to be like, well, you believe this about Jesus, I believe this about Jesus, so one of us is right, one of us is wrong. We often get in that debate of whose Jesus is the real Jesus, whose view of Jesus is correct. And as I get older, I'm realizing that's the wrong question. At least this is my opinion. So please understand, brothers and sisters, this is my opinion. And so if you disagree, you disagree. And I'm okay with you disagreeing, because we can respectfully disagree. We can respectfully see things differently, but still love one another. So for me, I want to focus on what are the similarities. What are the things that we agree on when it comes to Jesus? Because the things we agree on, we can use to build a friendship. We can use to have dialogue, have communication. The things that we agree on, we can talk about, and really, we can use as a way to connect, as a way to be like, hey, we have a similar kind of view, similar stories. So, allow those similarities to bring us together. Because right now, there are a lot of people focusing on the differences, and the differences are separating people, are dividing people. And so you have one side saying, I'm right, you're wrong. The other side saying, no, I'm right, you're wrong. And I think it's that kind of, I would honestly say that example of I'm right, you're wrong, and the other person saying the same thing, I would say that stems from Satan, stems from darkness, stems from chaos. Satan wants to divide people. Satan wants to spread chaos among people. And one way he does it is by trying to get people to be like, hey, you think differently. That means one of you is right, one of you is wrong. And I wish we would stop focusing and having those kind of conversations. When I think about it, for example, Mormons who believe and read the Book of Mormon, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they have a specific view of who Jesus is, while other Christians, whether it's Catholics, Protestants, Lutherans, Baptists, they have a view on who Jesus is through the Bible, through the Old Testament and New Testament. And it's like, instead of picking apart of, well, you believe in the Book of Mormon and that stuff isn't true, and then instead you have Catholics and Protestants and Lutherans and Baptists being like, yeah, those Mormons, they have a different view of Jesus. It's not our Jesus. And then the Mormons will be like, well, the Jesus we believe in, you don't believe in him, so, we're right and you're wrong. And I think that kind of division causes a lot of us to lose sight of what is important. And what I consider important is, if you say you believe in Jesus, honestly, I love to hear that, and that's a good thing for me. And if your view of Jesus is different than mine, I can respect that, and I can still love you, and I don't need to be right. When it comes to conversations and debates, myself, I've never been a debater. I've never been someone who likes to prove his points. It's not something that I desire. It's not something that I think I need to do, because I'm content with my beliefs. I'm content with my faith. I'm content with my relationship with Christ. And so for me in conversations, if I can lead people to Jesus by just being me and not forcing something down their throat, great, I can lead them to Jesus. But if that person decides to say, hey, I believe in a little bit different Jesus, I'm like, okay, cool. We both believe in Jesus at one point or another, we both believe in Jesus. So if it's a little bit different than mine, okay. I just think that we could grow as a community, we could grow as a church, we could grow as a people, and we could find and have more peace between two people by looking at similarities instead of the differences. Because it's that mindset of, I'm right, you're wrong, what I believe is true, what you believe is false. It's that mindset that divides people, and I just don't like that. I don't like that at all. For me, I don't like to focus on that division. I don't like to focus on, well, we believe differently, so, I don't want the differences to get in the way of building friendships. I don't want the differences to get in the way of building a community that's based on love, empathy, sincerity, compassion, peace, joy, happiness. And I don't think Jesus Christ himself would want us dividing each other just based on politics or religion or spirituality or lifestyle choices. For me, when I read scripture, when I read the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, even the Book of Mormon, for me, the Jesus that I have come to know and the Jesus that I love, he's going to focus on love, compassion, humility. He's going to focus on the things that remind us that you're my brother, you're my sister, even if you have darker skin, even if you're Asian, even if you're Arabic, even, if you're Mexican, no matter where you were born, no matter your citizenship, no matter your race, no matter your ethnicity, no matter your gender, no matter your sex, whatever it is, the Jesus that I know, he wants people to come together as brothers and sisters to love one another. And along the way, if you agree, great. Along the way, if you have a similar viewpoint, great. But I don't think that's needed to develop a loving relationship. I don't think two people need to agree to develop a kind of friendship that's built upon trust, communication, love. I think we have lost our way as a community, as a church. I really do. So this is just something that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So what I'm trying to say to you at the end of the day is, when you're spreading the gospel, when you're trying to preach Jesus, when you're trying to preach the gospel, when you're trying to preach the message of Jesus, for me, it's more important that I find and talk about the similarities between me and a brother or me and a sister, whether that's the way we grew up, whether our teenage years, whether adults, if we've gone through similar experiences. How I talk about Jesus with people is usually, what struggles have you gone through? And these are the struggles I've gone through, so we have some shared experiences. Let's talk about that. And then I introduce Jesus when it comes to, well, Jesus talked to us about mental health and what we should do if we're anxious and worried and doubting, and how Jesus talks about prayer and praying to the Father. And so I try to find those similarities between people. And then Jesus is someone who I love to talk about, because Jesus brings people together. He doesn't divide people. So that's just my opinion. If you disagree, totally okay. And I'm okay with that. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what your thoughts are. If you agree, if you disagree, we can have a healthy conversation in the comment section. And I'm sure I'll post a couple more videos tonight, just of some music, of some good tunes. So thank you guys so much for listening. God bless you guys, and have a wonderful evening. Peace and love.